make no mistake, Donald Trump is telling us what he'll do. If he's president again, Ukraine will not receive a dime from the United States of America. If Donald Trump is president again, he will be Vladimir Putin's best friend. He will root for Russia. And he will, and he told us this a few days ago, he's hell-bent on getting America out of NATO. Listen to what he says.
So the Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, has appealed to Republicans in the US Congress to approve a critical package of funding for Ukraine, warning them not to show the weakness displayed against Hitler in the 1930s. In his article, Cameron admitted he was dropping all diplomatic niceties, but he said that Britain and America's joint history shows the folly of giving in to tyrants in Europe who believe in redrawing boundaries by force. Well, the Senate approved a package of military support for Ukraine, Israel and other allies worth a total of $95 billion after months of delay. But the bill now goes to the House of Representatives, and Donald Trump is urging Republicans there to block the deal. Lord Darragh is a former British ambassador to the US and former national security advisor. He said Lord Cameron was right to use this language.
I think that David Cameron was absolutely spot on, exactly right. And I think it's quite brave of him to use the language that he has used. But I think we're in a very perilous situation now. And if Putin is allowed to win in Ukraine, and if US military aid to Ukraine is stopped, I fear that can happen. But I think it's a catastrophic defeat for the West. So there's a huge amount at stake here. So good on David Cameron to have put things in the stark terms that he has. And the historical analogy that he's used, I think there is some depth to it.
Well, that was Lord Darragh speaking to me earlier on the programme. Joe Walsh is a former Republican congressman. He's also a former presidential candidate in 2020. Good evening to you, Joe.
Good to be with you, Carol.
Great to have you with us. What do you make of what Lord Cameron is saying tonight?
Hear, 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 more of that. Hell yes. I'm glad David Cameron said what he said. This is really, really precarious, and the world needs to understand it. We've got two major political parties in America right now, and one of our major political parties, the leader of that party, is telling the party what to do. And the leader of that party, Donald Trump, doesn't want to give a dime to Ukraine. And the base of that party doesn't want to give money to Ukraine. So all the pressure we can put on my former political party from everyone is good.
I mean, you were a Republican congressman yourself, but you think that on this, Donald Trump, who of course is almost certain to be also the Republican nominee to be president, you think that he and your party are wrong to oppose these additional funds to Ukraine, do you?
Oh, absolutely. And look, most Americans do believe it's wrong. Most Americans do want to continue our support of Ukraine. And if this bill, the aid to Ukraine, was actually brought to the floor of the House of Representatives, it would pass with pretty much every Democrat and most Republicans. Look, I'm not a neocon, and I'm not someone who wants America involved all over the world, but I'm not an isolationist either. And today's Republican Party has very much been taken over by this isolationist mindset. They do not want to give a dime to other countries around the world. And this needs to be said, there's a pro-Putin faction in my former political party.
What do you make of the language that Lord Cameron used, saying that your colleagues, your former colleagues, should not show the weakness displayed against Hitler in the 1930s?
Look, that's tough language, but these are tough times for the people of Ukraine. And I'd remind everybody listening to me right now that David Cameron said what he said today, and I think it was spot on. the House of Representatives will go out of session tomorrow, and they'll be gone for 2 weeks. They will not be doing their jobs for 2 weeks. That's all led by the Republican speaker. I mean, that's a dereliction of duty. So I think the stronger the language from people here and around the world against what these Republicans are holding up right now is really, really needed.
We are in a situation where Donald Trump could well be elected to another term in the White House. Are you concerned about what his approach would be towards the war in Ukraine if indeed he not only wins the Republican nomination, as seems almost certain at the moment, but goes on to defeat Joe Biden?
Beyond concerned. And I know I have to watch my language. Look, if the election were held tomorrow, Donald Trump would win. If the election were held a month from now, Trump would win. He would be elected president again. That's how close this election is going to be. Joe Biden has his issues, namely in that he's got this age issue, and he needs to address that age issue, or he will not be reelected. But make no mistake, Donald Trump is telling us what he'll do. If he's president again, Ukraine will not receive a dime from the United States of America. If Donald Trump is president again, he will be Vladimir Putin's best friend. He will root for Russia. And he will, and he told us this a few days ago, he's hell-bent on getting America out of Nato. Listen to what he says.
Joe Walsh, former Republican congressman, also stood against Donald Trump back in the 2020 election. Really good to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Loved it, Carol. Thank you.